I think one of the best decisions I ever made was walking away from Star Wars after the reviews for the Last Jedi were coming in. I went to see The Force Awakens in theaters. I At the time I gave it a 6 out of 10, even though I had problems with the way they killed off Han Solo and what have you. But I figured they were going somewhere with this movie, with the series. So I said, okay, um, it was a solid start. Maybe they'll do some of the stuff that didn't work in the movie with the next two movies, and it'll probably be a worthwhile conclusion to the saga. And of course, we know what happened. Last Jedi shot out the entire cannon, and Rise of Skywalker pretty much buried the corpse. Um, the Mandalorian kind of gave some hope, even though on its own merit it was a very mid show, but it was better than anything Disney was producing at the time. And then, of course, the third season happened, and then Boba Fett happened, and then Obi-Wan happened, and Disney just continued to shell out crap after crap. Well, quote what it is. They were shelling out anti-male bigotry in the guise of their quote-unquote Star Wars canon. And we don't know the real canon is George Lucas's 6 films. Whatever you think of each of the movies' individual merits and the quality of the content, those are the 6 real canonical Star Wars movies because they were from the same man who conceived of the story, George Lucas. And the Disney stuff were all stuff that had nothing to do with Lucas's original vision. So I walked away from Star Wars and I feel good about it. I rarely read up on what the shows are about, aside from the fact that what is posted on Twitter or X, the clips, the reviews from people that are dedicating their channels to reviewing this shit. Like Clownfish TV and Midnight's Edge, those channels. And it saves me time and money because you can always replace money, but you can't replace time. So I'm not totally sad about it. I have my memories of the Star Wars stuff and from when I was a kid, playing with the toys and the action figures and what have you. So I don't really care for it anymore. It's fine. Star Wars died a long time ago. You just have a group of delusional fans still holding on to a corpse that is breathing its last breaths. But now you have the Acolyte, which when I heard about the showrunner, Leslie Headline, who was a more or less secretary for sex offender Harvey Weinstein, which means you knew she was part of the deviancy. I'm like, well, totally nothing bad is going to come out of this show, right? I mean, you have a girl who's a lesbian married to a woman who worked with a man who was a sex offender. I mean, I sense nothing but positivity for the show. And then the review information started coming out about the show's content and the story, and people started questioning it. And I'm like, yeah, well, I mean, what are you waiting for? You know what this is going to be about. And now the infamous episode 3 came out, in which the entire canon of Darth Plagueis is all but wiped out. If you remember Revenge of the Sith, Plagueis was the Sith who figured out how to manipulate the midichlorians to create life, as the story told by Palpatine when he was sitting with Anakin Skywalker. So he told, sorry about that. So he told that story, and it was the consensus by everybody who watched that scene and did their research that Plagueis was the first and only one that figured out how to create life. Well, I say only one, but I think it's also hinted that Palpatine was the one who manipulated the Force to help conceive Anakin. But these things aren't outright stated, but that's what's hinted at very subtly in that one scene in Revenge of the Sith. So that has been the accepted canon in terms of forced creation of life. Well, the Acolyte undid all that with their space lesbian witches who did the little chant, the little cult-like singing, whatever you want to call it, and created twins. So now we have space lesbians, witch cults that can manipulate the midichlorians to create life through the Force. So now Plagueis' story is all but moot. The significance of what he did is mute because now all you got to be is a space lesbian to do that. So now you have the Star Wars fans, the remaining Star Wars fans, crying about it and being upset about it. And I'm like, consider the source. you, what are you doing? If you don't like this anti-male bigotry disguised as entertainment, why are you still supporting it? Kathleen Kennedy has not gone anywhere. She's still actively pushing this anti-male agenda. You know that nothing that's going to come out of her hand is going to be pro-male. It's not going to endorse the positive male-centric affirmation of the original Star Wars. So why are you still giving her your time and money? This boggles my mind. And yeah, there's still that small cult of fans, as I call them, the tolerance cult, that will support this shit because it speaks to them. It gives them the right to feel diverse and inclusive because they're not white male Christians. So they will push it, but that's a small cult. That's a small percentage of people, that not enough to sustain a business. What Disney was somehow foolishly thinking was, hey, we'll keep the male audience, but we'll push out anti-male shit to bring in the anti-male cult so that we can grow our audience. And that's clearly not what happened. As I stated in a previous video, if representation is the contingency upon which you maintain an audience and keep an audience, well, it would stand to reason that the lack of representation would push away any existing audience you have, and that's what's happening with the Star Wars brand, the dead Star Wars brand. But yeah, that's infamous scene was shared all over Twitter, and I'm like, well, they actually reenacted the clips of those women in some country. I think it was Poland or someplace, where they were screaming at each other and doing some kind of like PMS ritual where they're just wailing at each other and shit like that, and husbandless behavior, as I'll call it. But they actually reenacted that. I was surprised that they did that. It was amazing. But it just tells you how on the nose these people are with their anti-male bigotry. And if you're a man, why are you giving them your time and money? Stop. Just stop. Don't even talk about it. I'm only talking about it because this message hasn't really been shared, which is don't give them any time and money. Do what Angry Video Game Nerd did back in 2016 when he said he was not going to watch Ghostbusters 2016. Just don't watch this shit. Don't even talk about it. Yeah, I get it. People are curious about how bad something is. They want to check out their favorite reviewer and they want to hear what they got to say. They want to affirm their reason for not liking shit. I get it. But at some point, you got to understand that Lucasfilm is using a lot of these anti-woke channels. I'm not saying all of them, but there's so many that are on YouTube now, and they're using them to get the attention they want to have people talking about it. They got their trending, so more people are talking about the Acolyte than wouldn't have if they just didn't watch it. And no attention for these people is far worse than bad attention, because bad attention still gets eyes on the product. It still gets eyes on the brand, and people are still talking about it. And then some of those that are anti-woke will just be curious enough to watch it, and that's what they want. And I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just simply saying, if you want this shit to stop giving it attention. Just don't give it any more attention. Nothing good is ever going to come out of Disney Star Wars. And some people are going to say, well, the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian were good. Yeah, and they killed it with the 3rd season. Andor was good. Oh, well, I mean, 1 out of what? Tons of shows. And they only had 1 season, so, could it be good? I suppose, but 1 season out of what? Many seasons of anti-male bigotry and woke shit. And I hate saying woke because it's such a comfortable word for a lot of people that don't want to say anti-feminist, that they're that they're anti-male, anti-white, anti-Christian. They won't say those words. They'll say woke, that they're anti-woke or something is woke because it's safer to say, but call it what it is. It's anti-male. This shit is anti-male, anti-white, anti-bigotry. Not anti-bigotry, anti-Christian. It's pro-bigotry. So I won't use woke. I'll tell you exactly what it is. In the case of the Acolyte, it's feminist propaganda pushing this anti-male hatefulness that we don't need men, that women don't need no men. Women can do anything a man can do, which of course is a lie. Women cannot do everything a man can do. Men's bodies are built for training. They're built for physical activities like the army and firefighting and coal mining. Women can't do those shit by and large. Yeah, you may get one woman that can do a lot of those, but it's very rare. And even so, like there's still going to be physical deficiencies. Our infrastructure is run by men. It's running by men. It's surviving by men. Women need men. That's just a reality. You women need men, and shows like the Acolyte push the opposite of that because it's hateful and bigoted. So just don't give it time and attention. And then this leads to my point about Furiosa, why people didn't go to see Furiosa. Now I get that some people have watched it, some reputable people have watched that movie and said, "Oh, it's not bad, it's pretty good." Some have said it was boring, but most of them have not said it was quote unquote woke, meaning it was feminist propaganda. Um, that being said, though, there is a large contingency of men that just don't care to see it because they didn't ask for that movie. And you cannot force people, especially men, you cannot force men to go see a movie that may be good because of a string of movies that were pretty shitty anti-male propaganda. Men are tired of the female-led action movie trope. They're tired of it. They're tired of being seen as second fiddle to women in action movies when in real life women couldn't stand a candle with men in actual battle. They're done with it. There's a reason why the 80s action movies were very masculine, why that masculine energy and feel was so popular and so financially successful for a lot of these studios, including the independent studios like New World Pictures and Canon Studios. But Richard C. Meyer, aka your boy Zach, is just he's been on a very weird warpath with anybody that disagreed with his take on how we're letting the film industry down because we didn't go see Furiosa. Again, you cannot force a demographic of people, men, to start shelling out money for another female-led movie, despite it being good. If it is good, I haven't seen this, I can't vouch for it, and I don't have any intention of seeing it. But let's say, for argument's sake, it is a good movie. It still doesn't betray the fact that, well, not betray. It still doesn't address the fact that so many female-led movies that have come out have been anti-male, bigoted propaganda pieces. Men are tired of it. So unfortunately, Furiosa suffers because of it. And it's time to get back to what will bring back men. Give men what they want if you want the man's wallet. If you want the man's money, if you want him to shell out 20, 30 bucks, whatever it is, to go see a movie. I know it's gotten that fucking expensive. But if you want him to chill out money to go see that movie, or any movie, give him what he wants. Give the man what he wants. 70% of the paying audience for Star Wars were men. The success of Star Wars was because of men paying money to see the movies, paying money down for action figures and all kinds of merchandise. It was men that was keeping that franchise alive. And now you've driven away that fan base and you're stuck with a small percentage who originally didn't even care for the franchise, and they're not buying the merchandise. Yeah, they may watch an episode and shout out how, oh, it's progressive and tolerant and inclusive. But they're not buying your merch. And Star Wars' reliance is on the merch. You go to Ollie's and it's bins and bins of Star Wars figures that no one is buying, of boring, bland characters. You'll go to a Target or a Walmart or any place that still sells DVDs, and you'll see The Force Awakens and Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker on sale because nobody's buying those shit movies. Because you pissed away the audience that would have bought them, men. And Furiosa became or rather the lack of the success that Furiosa encountered became the end result of that sentiment finally rearing its head through the wallets being closed. And no, and Richard T. Myers' viewpoint about how men in particular should be ashamed for not supporting Furiosa. You cannot tell men what to pay to see, or what not to pay to see. It's a very delusional take. A lot of men didn't ask for that movie, Furiosa. So why should they pay for something they didn't ask for? Why should they spend their time to see something they didn't ask for? It's a very delusional take. And I find that very hypocritical coming from a man who would think differently when it comes to comics. But when it comes to movies, oh no, we gotta put money down for a movie that may not be woke, that may not be anti-male propaganda. I'd rather put money down on a movie that actually speaks to me as a man, that a movie that I want to see, because in my heart of hearts, I asked to see it, like Godzilla X Kong, which came out on Blu-ray yesterday. Support physical media. But Godzilla X Kong came out yesterday. Um, and of course, I paid money down to get the Blu-ray because I will put money down on something that I want. I went to see that movie twice in the theaters, one by myself and the second time with my son. That movie did well for a reason because it spoke to the basis of men's hearts, which is two giant monsters fighting. Um, yeah, a small human cast, but it was the human cast that moved the plot along to get the monsters fighting. Not Oscar-winning material, but it did the job, and that's why it made over half $1 billion worldwide. And then on the flip side, Furiosa didn't even. I don't think it did. It crack 100 million worldwide. I think it did, but 100 million worldwide on a is what was the budget for that movie? I don't even know, but from what I heard, it didn't break even on its budget because people didn't ask to see this movie. They didn't ask for it to be made. They didn't ask to see it. And of course, George Miller, the creator of the Mad Max movies and the director of the Mad Max movies, is on record as saying he's a feminist. So again, why should I put money down on material and propaganda that is anti-me? I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna do it. So it's not gonna work out for you guys. So don't expect me to do it. It's just not gonna happen. So, but that's all I gotta say on this. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know what you guys think. And I will be back soon with another video. But feel free to check out roadwarriordrake.com. The crowdfunder for Road Warrior Drake is gonna end soon, and I'm still working on the book. So if you haven't backed it, go ahead and back it. Back that in the first book, Street Champion Road Warrior Drake. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.